This show is presented by the 323 Network. You can watch all your favorite 323 friends and shows on the 323 Network YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media platforms at 323read. And support us as we continue to grow at patreon.com/323read. That's 323REID. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 323. I am your host, Reed Murphy.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Look at the show. I'm the captain now.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Fuck Scott.
That's right, folks. Welcome to another installment of College Shame Day presented by 323 Network. I am your host, Scott Ellia, and I am not by myself this week because the brother from another mother, that's right, no hard R here, folks. Reed Murphy is in the building. How you doing, Reed?
Hey, yo. This is the hard R. This is Reed.
You are the hard R.
I am the hard R.
Ridiculous Reed Murphy. How
That's
you doing,
right.
Reed?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I don't know. The 5 minutes I haven't talked to you, I'm doing just fine.
It's been a night. We have a lot of momentum going into this
Oh,
show.
folks, I am just going to preface this by saying you are probably going to catch us in very rare peak form. We are on the heels of a recording batch marathon. We just went ahead and recorded Ricks versus Gricks. If you haven't tuned in to the latest episode, latest installment of that, please go check it out at 323 Read, wherever podcasts are found. I'm not your dad. Go find them. I don't care. I watch them on Spotify. I listen to them on Spotify. Do with that what you please.
You can do it Spotify, the 323 Network on YouTube.
If you want to look at our gorgeous faces, go there.
Or Senator John Kennedy's gorgeous smut reading face. It's a wonderful show.
All I know is that smut reading excited one of the contributors of this show, one of which who is not joining us right now. So if you want to know who that was, go check out the episode.
Yeah.
But
You'll
folks,
enjoy
let's just dive into it. Got a great docket going on for today. A couple of news to kind of, clean up a little bit on. Reed, I don't know how he keeps making his way into the show, but Shedeur Sanders is in the news again. But it's not him. Some anonymous Pac-12 coach, I haven't been able to find out who it is yet, came out accusing Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders of padding his stats, no pun intended here. Allegedly saying that he is taking sacks versus just throwing the ball away in order to maintain his high completion percentage, which is currently at 74.8%, which is second in the Pac-12. And currently, as far as yards go, he's second in all of college football at 1,781 passing yards. Reed, do you think there's any validity to this, or do you think that he's just grasping for straws?
I mean, you see a lot of other guys. You see a lot of other guys who will intentionally take sacks, and completion percentage is a lot worse still and everything. I don't think it takes anything away from Shedeur's talent. Of course, they might be trying to, pad it a little bit and make it look a little better, but if you actually watch the games and watch the film, you still see how impressive the kid is. It's not really taking that much away. I don't see it's not like he's going to do that in the NFL and everything. His dad knows how to handle that, and it will have him on the right path of it. It's just some shit people. It's, of course, another anonymous source. That's why they're anonymous, right? They don't want to put a name to this hating everything. They just want to tear him down some way. This is another way to do it.
Right. And you mentioned the NFL, and that was kind of my follow-up question, that even if this is true, does it hurt? Does it hurt or help his draft stock at that point, if this is true? Does it even make a difference?
Probably not. It's just something that'll get forgotten, once pro days come and all.
he's a legacy football player in college, in the college world. He's going to be a legacy player at the next level in the NFL, regardless of where he ends up. And you see this all the time about people padding stats. So I really don't see this padding stats being a huge issue. And of course, like you said, of course, this was an anonymous tip and kind of blurb. Whoever it was just needs to come out and own it. But they just definitely won't. But moving forward, congratulations to Tez Walker. North Carolina wide receiver Tez Walker is now eligible to play in 2023 after new information emerged that the NCAA said school officials failed to provide previously. For those who don't know who Tez Walker is, he's a recent transfer from Kent State, and his initial eligibility for 2023 for this season was denied because he had already transferred twice, which is a big bugaboo in the transfer portal world for the college football. But one thing that, kind of have to remember that he didn't even play during the COVID-19 season back in 2020 when he was with North Carolina Central, because they didn't even have a season because of the pandemic. They didn't even play. As of right now, Walker missed North Carolina's first 4 games. And then NCAA coming out with a statement saying that it could have been avoided if the university staff had submitted this information weeks ago, which is now spiraled out of control. You have NCAA officials and UNC athletic director Bubba Cunningham. Talk about a name, Bubba Cunningham.
That's a hell of a name.
And now they're going tit for tat. The NCAA, of course, following suit with, entire unfortunate episode that could have been avoided, and Cunningham responding with things like the NCAA delayed making the correct decision. Who do you think actually dropped the ball? I don't think it's UNC at all, because when you have a talent like Tez Walker, you're going to try to get him on the field day one. But do you think it's more to blame with the NCAA, or do you think the UNC is really truly to blame with the situation?
I mean, I'm a conspiratorial mind when it comes to the NCAA, so I would always tend to put some blame there. What do you think the long form impact of this is?
I think this is definitely going to open the door for some of the other situations that are similar to this that are looking for waivers. Notably, it's no secret now with me having allegiance to Florida State. We're currently facing the same thing with the D lineman Daryl Jackson, who recently transferred to Florida State. This is another player who's transferring twice, but he's looking for that medical waiver because he moved to Tallahassee to be closer to his ailing mom and got denied. So he's sitting out. So I think this is going to force the NCAA's hand to really take a better look at the transfer portal, especially with this being just the nature of the college football world now. There's been a couple adjustments for the transfer portal recently. So I think this is going to have huge implications for the future. But last thing, talking about huge implications for the future, the NIL. Got some news for you, Reed. There's some new rules that could be implemented soon, starting in January if everything goes smoothly. As it is right now, the NIL, for those who aren't familiar, gives the players a chance to actually make some money on their name, image, and likeness. But it's kind of like the wild, wild west. Everyone's still trying to figure it out and see, exactly what's the right way to do it. They're still trying to get Congress involved for student athlete support and things of that nature. But a couple proposed rules that could take effect in the start of next calendar year. They include the creation of a voluntary registry for NIL service providers such as agents and financial advisors, requiring disclosure of NIL deals that are worth more than $600 by athletes to their school, developing and standardizing the NIL contracts, which makes a lot of sense. Have everyone on the same playing field so there's no backdoor deals, things of that nature. And one thing that I am actually kind of upset that wasn't already in place, but it was education programs for not only college athletes, but also high school prospects that are looking to come into college making this kind of money. Because everybody knows a lot of these great athletes that are coming through high school and into college came from very rough backgrounds where they didn't have financial services available to them to kind of teach them how to manage their money. And you see time and time again, these athletes just blowing tens of millions of dollars. So I'm really glad that they're putting the educational piece into this as well, Reed. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I think that is a big piece to this. And of course, we're going to start to see, we knew that you would start to see more regulations and rules start to get put in place with NIL. It's been like the Wild West since it started, where just anything could go. So do you think that this is the start of a collection of new rules that could be put in place by the NIL or by, for the NIL.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot more of a standardization process where it's not just anything goes. I mean, you're seeing it right now in Miami. A lot of the boosters down there, one notably currently in federal investigations for fraud and things of that nature. I think they're going to want to make sure that these boosters and donors and people who are running the collectives are squeaky clean and that there's nothing shady going on behind closed doors. Because the last thing that the NCAA needs right now is more money in McDonald bag situations that were happening in the past. But it actually brings up one really cool NIL story, Reed. I don't know if you saw this, but recently all 85 scholarship players for the Utah Utes received a leased Dodge Ram pickup, which is wild. The Utah Crimson Collective, who is the collective program there for Utah, will be covering the pricing of the lease and the insurance payments, which I don't even want to know how much that is. With my background, I've worked in the insurance world, especially with auto insurance. I know how much insurance can cost, especially for trucks for kids in that age range. But what I'm more confused about is the players are going to be responsible for tax payments for the trucks. I mean, it's a nice gesture, but I see a lot going wrong. Not only with trucks being in lease programs where they have to follow very specific guidelines as far as upkeep of the vehicle and routine maintenance. And then you have the players that are in charge of making sure the taxes are paid for the trucks, which I'm sure is more than an 18-year-old is expecting to have to pay at this point. Am I wrong? Am I just in parent mode right now and just worrying for these kids?
No, I think you're doing the right thing. You have the right thought process, because it's the same thing as like when you go on a game show and you win, like, if you win like a car or a house or whatever on Price is Right, and a lot of people can't even keep up with it. They have to sell it immediately because they're not going to be able to make the tax payments. You didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for the tax payments on it. It'd be nice if, NIL endorsers and sponsors, would handle that. That would be cool. Give a little extra money so that, it's just automatically handled. Although everything else about it is great. That's a very awesome thing to do for your students and for your players.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm sure a lot of these kids, they aren't from the area. They're transplants from all over the country. They might not even have reliable transportation. So especially in Utah, where the weather can get kind of nasty after the football season, I'm interested to see if there's any kind of what in the contract for the usage for the truck. Because they have to follow guidelines as far as mileage per month in regards to a lease. So I'm interested to see if they're going to try to slow down these kids using the trucks after the season's done. But it's a nice gesture.
Yeah.
Oh, well, other than that, it's been kind of quiet. You have, of course, Mel Tucker at Michigan State coming out against and sending in his 100+ page letter to Michigan State with his viewpoints on everything. I'm tired of giving him time. You have Northwestern right now currently looking to be sued by their previous head coach Fitzgerald for $130 million for a wrongful firing. I've given him plenty of time on this show before, so I'm just going to move into the meat and potatoes of everything. And Reed, I don't know if you watched any games last week, but it was another great weekend of college football. That's for sure.
It was I think this was the first Saturday I spent all day watching games.
And didn't you feel like such a glutton? You go from Friday, Saturday games, and you roll right into Sunday, and you have all the NFL games, and you just are burnt out by Monday coming here.
Felt disgusting.
But starting in the Pac-12 on Friday, we had Utah. We just spoke about them going up against Oregon State and losing 21-7. So congrats to Oregon State. Another win for the little guy. We ain't free till we're all free, man. Number 1, Georgia, winning very, very closely to Auburn, 27-20 on the road. Michigan embarrassing Nebraska, 45-7 on the road. Texas doing Texas things at home, winning 40-14 against Kansas. We just spoke about Northwestern. They can't catch a break because they got routed by number 6 Penn State, 41-13. Michael Penix Jr. continuing to do things, leading the number 7 Washington Huskies over Arizona 31-24. More to come on that performance. A game that I feel was too close for comfort. The number 8 USC Trojans going to Boulder playing against Colorado Buffalo. And coming off a complete routing in Oregon for Colorado, they actually held their own against USC and only losing by 7, 48-41. Reed, did you catch any of that game?
I watched none of that, actually. I missed it, and I didn't feel too bad about missing it. But until I saw the score, and like Colorado, I think they put up enough of a performance to keep themselves relevant for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think they needed to have that game. If that was another blowout loss like they did to Oregon 2 weeks ago, I think a lot of people will be writing off Colorado at this point. But I got some things I want to say about USC here in a little bit. Moving forward, got number 9 Oregon traveling to Stanford and crushing them 42-6. Bo Nix is just still lighting it up. Another really close game, and I had a feeling it was going to be this way. Number 11 Notre Dame traveling to number 17 Duke and beating them at the last minute 21-14.
Love those
number 12
nerd tears.
Oh, God. It's like a math bowl. The mathletes playing. I couldn't have been even less excited. And I'm really upset that College Game Day decided to go to that game. It makes sense. I feel like they only went there because Colorado wasn't unbeaten at that point to go to the USC game. Mm-hmm. But they had to go somewhere. I guess that makes sense. They couldn't go to the Texas-Kansas game because they got the Red River rivalry coming up this week with Texas and Oklahoma. So you can't go to Texas back-to-back. No. But, hey.
And I mean,
whatever.
the best that they could do on a celebrity guest picker was Ken Jeong.
Yeah, it was a stretch, such a stretch. But either way, Alabama over Mississippi State, 40-17. The Brian Kelly effect is in full effect down in LSU, and they lost to Ole Miss 55-49. Good, fuck them. They're 3-2 on the season, yet they're still ranked in the top 25. If that doesn't show you SEC bias, I don't know what does. They should not be there at all. Number 14, Oklahoma, beating Iowa State at home 50-20. Number 21, Tennessee, beating South Carolina 41-20. College Shame Days game of the week. The number 22 Florida Gators traveling to Kentucky, facing off against them. And this one was for the Sissels last week. They beat them 33-14. So congrats to Kentucky. That's a huge win. Florida was overranked, in my opinion, at 22 anyway, so it's glad to see that they are finally out of the top 25 where they deserve to be. And rounding out the rest of the week, 23 Missouri over Vanderbilt 38-21, and number 25 Fresno State over Nevada 27-9. Boy, it seems a lot of these high-scoring games aren't going anywhere anytime soon, Reed, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're just starting to we're getting into the meat of the season too. Right, where you're going to start to see that on some bigger platforms. I'm excited.
No, I'm excited. You want to, what I'm actually more excited for? I'm excited to travel west, where the dust is getting kicked up in our face. You see the little, what are those things? The little balls that travel across the road that you see in those Western movies.
Oh, dust balls?
Yeah, whatever. I'm white. I'm not that white. I don't know what Western stuff is. But hey, either way, this is the next installment of the Shameful Eight. That's right, folks. This is College Shame Days. Top 8 college football teams as of right now going into week number 6. And we're going to start at number 8. And there's going to be a little bit of a shuffle from last week, you might notice throughout here. At number 8, I'm going to give it to the USC Trojans, who are currently 5-0. Hey. They barely got out of that Boulder with the win of 48-41. I think that Oregon game was a humbling experience for those folks in Colorado. But I think moving forward, that USC defense is just too much of a liability. I mean, they gave up 28 to both San Jose State and Arizona State 2 weeks ago, and now 41 to Colorado. Reed, do you think they're going to get their defense under control, or do you think this is just who USC is, a high-powered offense with a very lackluster defense?
I think it really is just who they're going to be, and like they're happily going into it. What is that just appeared on me? They're happily just going to roll with, the potential of what Caleb Williams can do for them and how he can lead them. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't see any argument with them being there.
No, and I mean, Caleb Williams is going to continue to put up great numbers. I mean, last week he put up 403 yards for 6 touchdowns and an interception. I don't think that's the problem. I think they just their defense is just so meh.
And if you have to live and die by anybody, you want it to be somebody like Caleb Williams.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on to number 7, I have the Penn State Nittany Lions at 5-0. Thankfully, they woke up in the second half. They didn't have that upset loss against Northwestern last week, so we'll put them at number 7. Following them at number 6, we have Oregon, who is 5-0 after their crushing of Stanford 42-6 on the road. Moving to number 5, we got Washington. We got the Washington Huskies there at 5-0, even though they did have a close game on the road against Arizona, and Michael Penix Jr. didn't put up a touchdown. They relied more on their rushing game last week against Arizona, but I still am very intrigued about what they're going to be able to produce there in the Pac-12. Moving to the top 4, it's not the top 4 without Scott's opinion, the best team in the country, and that's the Florida State Seminoles at 4-0. We had a bye week last week. We're coming in this week against Virginia Tech at home. Hopefully, we can start really putting some big numbers on the board from here on out. At number 3, another team who had a bye week last week, and that's the Ohio State Buckeyes at 4-0. Number 2, we have Texas, 5-0, crushed Kansas 40-14 at home. Like I said before, they got Oklahoma this week. I feel if they're able to really limit Dylan Gabriel there in Oklahoma, make Brett Venables look very lackluster as far as a coach goes, that their college football playoff bid is all but solidified, especially with the rest of their schedule. And at number 1, a couple teams that we haven't mentioned so far, but it's not Georgia. I do not have the Georgia Bulldogs in the top 8. I can't give it to them now.
Wow.
After that close victory on the road by 7 points to Auburn, who is now 3-2 on the season, 0-2 in the SEC, I'm giving number 1 to the Michigan Wolverines.
Whoa.
Who are 5-0. Crushed Nebraska 45-7. For those who are close to college football, even though Nebraska is in a downward spiral as far as their just overall success goes over the last couple seasons, it's still very difficult to go to Nebraska and to win convincingly like that. So I don't see Michigan slowing down, especially now that Harbaugh's back on the sideline. But that is college Shameful Eight. Reed, do you have anything to add to any of those teams that were mentioned?
No, I was just curious to see where Georgia was going to land for you after that performance last week, and that does not surprise me at all.
No, I can't give them anything at this point. They're already over. They're already at number 1 simply because they're the reigning national champions, which I can get in the sense of like the NFL or like professional sports, because you don't really see a lot of movement as far as players go with teams. But in college, there's just so many pieces moving every single year, especially now with the transfer portal being so predominantly used. They haven't impressed me. I'm sorry. They just haven't impressed me.
Yeah.
And until they lose, they're going to stay at number 1 until the AP folks get a little smart, but I digress. But going back into everything, folks, Heisman watch. Now, this is where it's getting a little exciting because 2 of the folks that I have still in the top 5 had a bye week last week, and I still have them in the top 5 for the Heisman. Starting at number 5, we have Cam Ward, the quarterback for Washington State. Yes, he had a bye week last week, but on the year, just remind everyone, he's 106 for 142, 1,390 yards passing, 13 touchdowns. Still that big old goose egg for the interceptions. I'm really interested to see what he's going to be able to do this week. Moving to number 4, we have Jordan Travis, quarterback for Florida State. Yes, he had that bye week last week, but so far on the year, he's 74 for 121. Just a hair over 1,000 yards passing, 10 touchdowns and an interception. Reed, did you see Joe Exotic making his way into the news recently?
No.
He is calling for a lawsuit against Florida State and Jordan Travis for the usage of Tiger King.
Oh my God.
Saying that he's been using that mantra before Jordan Travis was even born. Scott Ellia, being the well-detailed reporter that I am, I looked into this copyright that Joe Exotic claims that he has, because as folks know, if you hold a patent or if you hold a copyright here in the United States, it's public knowledge. It's a quick Google search away. You just go to the copyright database for the government. You can find whatever you want. There is only 2 open copyrights for the term Tiger King that Joe Exotic uses. Would you like to know what they are pertaining to, Reed?
Yes, I would.
One is for a face cream. Right. That's the exact face it's the same look that I gave when I read it. I had to reread it twice. And the other one is for like video games and gaming machines for like Vegas.
Okay. Well,
no other mention. So in my opinion, as long as they're using it not in those two ways, it's fair game. And of course, Joe Exotic is still in jail.
Naturally,
Robbing.
as he should.
I'm not sleeping over it, but I think Jordan Travis has enough people in this corner to tell Joe Exotic to just go kick rocks. Moving into the top 3, we got Bo Nix, quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. Last week, lighting up Stanford, 27 for 32, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Moving him onto the year for 131, once over for 163, a little over 1,400 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, and one lowly interception. And number 2, little bit of a mix-up. Got Caleb Williams at 2. I can't give him 1, even with that stellar performance against Colorado, like I mentioned, for over 400 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 21 touchdowns on the year, over 1,600 yards passing. It's still very, very impressive. But when you look and see what Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback for Washington, is doing right now, even with last week's 30 for 40 for 360 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions against Arizona, he is still 133 for 178, 1,999 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and 2 picks.
That's crazy.
Like, that is just such insane numbers, and we're only getting into week 6 right now.
Yep.
I really don't see him slowing down at all. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen here in the next couple weeks, especially because for them, they got some big games coming up. Not to mention, they got Oregon at home in 2 weeks. They're on a bye week right now. And then they still close out the season at USC, at home at Utah, at Oregon State, and at home at Washington State. All 4 of those teams currently are ranked in the top 25. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen from here on out. But that is the Heisman watch, folks. I am very interested to see if Michael Penix can hold off Caleb Williams. I think if USC can get their defense under control, that should help Caleb Williams in the future. But let's talk about game of the week. Reed, last week, if you remember, it was Kentucky and Florida. And like we mentioned, Kentucky beating number 22 Florida 30-14. And like I called it, one of the keys to victory for Kentucky was to rely on the shoulders of Ray Davis, their running back. If Florida wanted a chance to win, they needed to slow him down, and they did not slow him down. Ran 26 times for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's just insane production, especially for a collegiate running back. I'm interested to see what he's going to be able to do against Georgia this week. Talk about Graham Mertz. He's showing exactly who we thought he was. 25 for 30 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the lone turnover for the game in that win interception, which I feel is probably the most costly thing that Florida could have done. But fuck Florida. I'm happy to see them lose. That brings us to this week's College Shame Days Game of the Week. And for the first time in the history of the show, we're going to have a repeat team.
Whoa.
Back-to-back weeks for the Game of the Week. And that is number 20, the newly number 20 Kentucky Wildcats, traveling to Athens against number 1 Georgia.
Crazy.
Both are 5-0 in the season. Both are 2-0 in the SEC. Yes, Georgia are 14.5-point favorites. I get it. But like I just said for Florida, Georgia needs to be able to slow down Ray Davis in that running game of Kentucky. Currently on the year, Ray Davis has 76 rushing attempts for just under 600 yards. He's averaging 7.8 yards a carry, Reed. What do you do against that? He's damn near getting you a first down every time he touches the ball.
Right.
And on the year, he has 8 touchdowns. And I feel like even with them being 14.5-point favorites right now, I am putting Georgia on upset alert right now. I feel if Kentucky can isolate Brock Bowers, who is clearly the top target for Carson Beck, he leads the team not only in receptions, but also in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, force Carson Beck to look elsewhere. And the defense needs to play lights out to be able to beat Georgia on the road. But I think they can do it. I feel like they can do it. Georgia, like I said, hasn't been impressing me this year. I'm very bullish on Kentucky. what they're doing right now. So fingers crossed.
Now, if
Yes.
Georgia loses to Kentucky, what do you
Plummeting.
see? Yeah, what do you see happening? How far do they plummet, and how
Double digits.
How high up does Kentucky rise?
I think Kentucky easily gets in the top 10 consideration. Just because of the big swing. You have number 1 against number 20. That's such a huge swing.
Right.
Kentucky is going to have to go over Georgia. Because I feel Kentucky's resume, especially that recent victory over then ranked 22 Florida, their resume versus Georgia's resume is vastly better in my opinion. So Georgia has to go under them. So I feel Georgia has to drop at least 10 spots.
Okay.
Which, in my opinion, is where they deserve to be. They're still a very talented football team. You still got Kirby Smart as their head coach. Carson Beck's still there. Brock Bowers is still there. They still have a very stout defense. But this is one of the reasons why having rankings so early in the season just hurt everything. Because the top 25 shouldn't even look how it looks right now. This is when they should really start looking at top 25s. Week 5, week 4, kind of this area, and kind of go from there. Oh. And we got a lame of the week read. I mean, it's okay. Last week we had Buffalo and Akron, and Buffalo beat Akron 13-10. So congrats for both hitting double digits. I still feel it would have been more exciting if they just went with my idea and just having the mascots go at a battle royale UFC fight, but oh well. But this one's not, I don't want to throw so much shade at this game because I'm actually interested to watch this game. We got Old Dominion at Southern Miss. ODU, for those who don't know, is going to be my future alma mater. Currently working on my degree from them. I should have that wrapped up the next year, so go Monarchs. But I feel so bad for Frank Gore Jr., the running back for Southern Miss. Currently, for his career there, he has over 600 carries, over 3,200 yards rushing. He's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, 20 touchdowns. Do you think that the NFL teams will give him a serious look when he comes out for the draft?
Maybe not serious. Well, I don't know. It just depends on, this is where you get pro days and combine. This is where the importance of them comes in for schools and players like that. I mean, at least he'll at least get looks from like San Francisco as like a favor.
If he even, especially at the running back position where the cliff seems to get sooner and sooner every year, if he even has half of the longevity that his dad had in the NFL, and the consistency that his dad had in the NFL, I feel would help him out the most. But I think you're right. I think the pro days and the combine are what's going to play into it. I think, especially with NFL teams undervaluing running backs right now, I think a team that might need one just in their rotation can wait to pull the trigger on him later on in the draft, or even go undrafted and just bring him in. But I just feel bad for him at Southern Miss right now, man. I really am. Oh boy. But folks, now we're going to get into my opinion. The best time of the show. And Reed, are you ready for the Wheel of Degenerate?
Hell yes.
Oh man, cut the music. Cut the music. Cut the music. We don't need music for this part.
Nah, cut.
Because this is where we're going to get hyped.
Woo!
Because folks, we are getting closer and closer to winning some money. Last week, we went with Oregon minus 27. It was a hit.
Yes.
Alabama at minus 14.5. It was a hit.
Hit me.
Kentucky. We took the Kentucky Kentucky minus 1.5, and we still hit it. And for the second week in a row, we lose the damn bet because the USC can't covering the spread. And it's annoying me. Reed, I don't know why you're celebrating. For folks who can't see this and you're only listening, go to the 323 YouTube page at 323 Reed, and you'll see that Reed is celebrating with balloons that we missed the spread of minus 21.5 for USC.
How does that
Reed,
happen?
That's not nice. Why did you do that?
I can't make it happen again.
Okay, whatever. But it's okay because we also missed Duke plus 5.5 points. They were close though. They almost got it. They almost threw that sneaky game, but oh well. But no, this week we have a really great slate of games for this week's Wheel of Degenerate betting slip. Coming up like we've mentioned before, we have the number 12 Oklahoma Sooners at number 3 Texas for the Red River Rivalry, the ESPN College Game Day Game of the Week. Whatever. And then we got the Maryland Terrapins, who are surprising everyone right now, traveling to Ohio State, facing off against them. Upset alert. I trust baby Tua, man. I trust the baby tags there in Maryland. He's doing something special. Oh, and then we got 23 LSU at 21 Missouri, whatever.
Yeah.
Got 12 Washington State at UCLA, Virginia Tech at number 5 Florida State, number 11 Alabama at Texas A&M, Syracuse, who's currently unbeaten, at number 14 North Carolina, number 20 Kentucky at number 1 Georgia, like we said, which is a college shame day, the only coverage that you need to be listening to for your college news game of the week. After that, number 2 Michigan at Minnesota, number 10 Notre Dame at 25 at Louisville, Arkansas at number 16 Ole Miss, Georgia Tech at 17 Miami. Somehow they're still there, whatever. Number 24 Fresno State at Wyoming, number 15 Oregon State at Cal, and to round off the top 25 games, Arizona at USC. Reed, I have one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to spin the wheel?
Yes!
That's right, folks. It is wheel time. Spinning the wheel 5 times, trusting the fates, whatever games they land on. I, your host, Scott Ellie, will build a 5-pick parlay, which I will not release live with you here. The only place to find that is at the official 323 College Shame Day Instagram page. I will release it every Saturday morning. Sometimes around 10, sometimes around 11, depends when I feel like you guys deserve it. But it definitely will be before the first games of the games that are included on the ticket. Also, while you're mulling it over about actually trusting the fates with me, give us a listen. Go to 323 College Shame Day Instagram page. You can follow the link tree there to the Spotify or wherever you find your podcast needs. Quick 30, 45-minute episode while you're getting ready for your Saturday. You're doing chores around the house. You're getting ready for college football to come on. Just have it on in the background.
Do it.
I mean,
yeah.
Just do it.
Michael Jordan said it.
The wheel.
Nike said it. Just do it.
Just do it. Oh, but the first game on the official Wheel of Degenerate College Shame Day betting slip of the week. God damn it. God damn it. For a third week in a row, we have USC up here. Arizona at number 9 USC. Is Scott going to learn his lesson and not try to take the points or trust USC to cover the spread? I don't know, but find out on Saturday.
You will always find out.
Always. Spin number 2.
Can't escape Caleb Williams or his daddy.
No, I can't. I hate it. Here we go.
That's a game.
That's an interesting game. Number 15, Oregon State at California. Cal Golden Bears. Let's see what goes on there. Remove them. That's a lackluster game. Give me a better game, Fates. Come on.
Cal,
put me
the
to
home
the
of
test.
their alumni, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, shout out to Aaron Rodgers' broken, Achilles?
Yeah, screaming out Mr. Pfizer on Pat McAfee's show. This is a game.
This is a good game. Second week in a row, we got Notre Dame up here. We got number 10 Notre Dame traveling to 25 Louisville. There's another team that's kind of shocking people right now, but who knows what's going to happen? I'm not telling you. Going into spin number 4.
Not till Saturday morning, at least.
That's right, while you're having your brunch with Kirk. And fourth game, number 11 Alabama at Texas A&M. The battle of the nursing home, Nick Saban versus Jimbo Fisher. Who do you think is going to burst a blood vessel first between those two, Reeds?
If Saban hasn't done it by now, it's going to be Jimbo. Jimbo's got more stress. Saban's cool.
Oh, man. Oh, well. But going into fifth and final spin, just to recap it, we have Arizona at number 9 USC, 15 Oregon State at Cal, 10 Notre Dame at 25 Louisville, 11 Alabama at Texas A&M, and your fifth and final game is number 24 dyslexic Fresno State at Wyoming. I was so excited to get this wheel generated that I've made a typo there, Reed.
Suck it, ESPN.
Suck it. Look at that production value, Kirk. The Corso could never.
I'm going to look up alumni of Fresno State.
Oh, Fresno State.
Fresno.
Oh, folks, but while Reed's looking that up, Thank you for joining us again for another installment of College Shame Day. Like I said, check us out on all the social medias at 323read on Instagram or Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find them. College 323 College Shame Day on Instagram as well. Reed, what do you got for me for Fresno State before I let these poor folks on with their Saturday?
I don't have anything in relation to Fresno State, but I did find out those dust bunnies in the desert are called tumbleweeds.
Tumbleweeds. Hey. That's a
Hey.
win. That's a win within itself.
That's the kind of intel that you can find from following at 323read anywhere on social media. The 323 Network on YouTube. 323 with Reed Murphy, wherever you get your podcasts.
Man, thanks for joining me again, Reed.
Of course. I'm so happy to always be
It's
here.
It's a little off the rails, but hey, we got it done. But that's right, folks. That's it for this week's installment of College Shame Day. And as always, if you're not going to be good at it, and always have a shameful day. See you next time.
Good show.